They say every choice has a price, but no one tells you what happens when the only option is surrender. That's how her story begins. The night a billionaire alpha placed a contract on the table. She once believed she could escape the pack's laws, that freedom was hers if she fought hard enough. But freedom isn't given in this world. It's traded, bound in ink, and sealed with blood. And when the alpha wants something, he always gets it. Prologue. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a female alpha with close to no fortune must be in want of a mate. Whatever her personal feelings on the matter, this belief is so fixed in the minds of every shifter and every pack that she is automatically considered desperate for an alliance, and therefore the rightful property of some male wolf or another. "The Council of Elders has met," announces Elder Blackwell, his weathered face unreadable. "And we have excellent news, Alpha. Victor Holloway has generously agreed to become your mate." Lyra Wilder raises a single eyebrow. "I'm overwhelmed by his charity," she says flatly. "To think a beta willing to mate with an alpha, the sacrifices he makes." The sarcasm sails over Elder Blackwell's head. "We strongly advise you accept his offer. It would satisfy the succession requirements well ahead of your deadline, and Victor Holloway is no ordinary beta. He serves directly under Derek Westwood." "Oh." Lyra places a hand dramatically over her heart. "Well, if he's Derek Westwood's beta, that changes everything." "It should." Elder Blackwell replies, clipped. "The Westwood Pack controls half the Eastern Territory. Their protection alone would secure your borders for generations." Lyra drums her fingers on the armrest, jaw tight. She has 3 months to find a mate or lose everything her family built over generations. "Fine," she says at last. "Send word to this generous beta. I accept his proposal." Exiting the council chamber, she walks with measured steps and a straight spine. Only once she's alone does she allow herself a flicker of quiet fury. It's always the same. Male alphas choose mates for power or pleasure. Female alphas, they mate to survive. She's the most dominant wolf in her pack, an alpha by blood and right. Yet here she is, bartered off like breeding stock to secure what should be hers. What Lyra doesn't know is that elsewhere in the territory, another alpha faces a deadline of his own, one that makes hers look tame in comparison. He's running out of time, scanning potential mates with growing desperation, and when their paths cross, both will learn that sometimes the most desperate circumstances call for the most unconventional solutions. Chapter 1. Lyra. The crystal champagne flute shatters against Victor's face, drawing gasps from the crowd of werewolves gathered in the grand ballroom of the Westwood estate. And for a second, watching the expensive liquid drip down his smug expression, Lyra feels a flicker of satisfaction because he deserved it. Moments earlier, he'd proudly announced his intention to keep his mistress, not just privately, but in front of an entire audience of shifter nobility and in front of Lyra, his fiancée. "Plenty of alphas have mistresses in arrangements like ours," he'd said, voice laced with condescension. "Surely you're not naive enough to think." "So I can have lovers too," Lyra had interrupted. Around them, conversations had died, sharp shifter hearing, picking up every word. "Of course not," Victor scoffed, his face hardening. "I don't want to raise a bastard child." He'd shot a conspiratorial look at the nearby men who chuckled in response. Then, smirking, he asked Lyra to fetch him a drink. So, she had to throw it in his face. Now she spins on her heel and walks away, ignoring his sputtered outrage. She's made her decision. She will not be mating with Victor. Her pack needs an alliance, but not with a fool. Then again, without Victor, her options are nearly gone. The few remaining packs interested in an alliance are even worse. 3 months of searching had led her to this arrogant beta from one of the country's wealthiest families, a man who clearly wanted control of her pack, not her. In werewolf nobility, alphas rule. They are the strongest and most dominant, protecting their packs with brute force and powerful shifts. Female alphas, like Lyra, are rare and inconvenient to tradition, which is why her council insists she take a mate to legitimize her leadership. Tradition demands unmated female alphas secure a consort within 6 months or face a succession challenge, and her time is running out. Lyra pushes through the crowd, her thoughts spiralling. The council will riot. The pack needs resources they can't secure alone, and she spots a set of glass doors leading to a balcony and makes for them, her eyes locked on the exit. She doesn't see the shift in the crowd or the way people move aside with deference. She doesn't notice the tall figure rounding the corner until it's too late. They collide. Cold wetness soaks her chest as crimson blooms across the grey silk of her dress. "Shit," Lyra mutters, staring down at the stain. The sharp aroma of red wine hits her nose, mingling with a distinctly masculine scent. "Sorry about your dress," comes a smooth, deep voice, though to be honest, I think it looks better that way. Lyra's head snaps up, fury rising. "Oh, shut up," she snaps. The least you could do is apologise, because her anger falters as she locks eyes with him, eyes so intensely blue they seem almost unnatural. "I did," he replies, a smirk curving his mouth. "Or do you not remember? He's beautiful in the way men like him always are. Sharp cheekbones, dark hair, and a look that says he gets away with everything." She thinks she's seen him before, but can't place him, too distracted by how irritating he's being. "I remember you being a jackass," Lyra growls. That only seems to amuse him. His smirk deepens. "Is someone having a bad night? What gave me away?" Lyra retorts. "Could it be the red wine I'm covered in? It's not just any red wine," the man explains. "It's a 1982 Chateau Les Filles Rothschild." Lyra scowls just as Victor appears, his face splotchy with anger. "Lyra, stop making a scene," he hisses while inclining his head to the dark-haired man. "Apologise to my alpha right now." He moves to grab Lyra's arm, but she sidesteps him. "Don't tell me what to do," she hisses, and then she freezes. Because as Victor's words echo in her mind, she realises why this dark-haired man seems so familiar, why the crowd had parted for him earlier, and why there's difference in Victor's tone now as he addresses him. Victor's alpha is Derek Westwood, a man who acquires territory like collect watches, whose signature on a treaty could make or break 1,000 wars, whose obscene family's fortune could secure her own pack's future for decades to come, and who Lyra just called a jackass. Victor Blanche is turning to her companion. "I apologise, Alpha," he says, bowing his head. "My future Luna can be a bit. I am not your future Luna." Lyra snaps, and the engagement is off. She feels gazes locking onto them from all directions, the judgment and curiosity rising in the air. "You can't break this engagement over my mistress." Victor seizes her wrist. "You'll lose your position without me, Lyra." "And you'll lose that hand if you don't release me," she replies, making Victor growl. "Your pack will suffer for your pride," he begins. In one swift move, Lyra twists his wrist back, forcing him to release her while Derek Westwood tilts his head, eyes glinting with amusement. "Funny that you should speak of her pride, Victor," he says, "when you seem to have forgotten yours somewhere. Your mistress's bed, perhaps?" Victor's face goes from red to purple. "Alpha, with all due respect." "So, you admit she's due some respect then?" Derek cuts in smoothly, pointing to Lyra. "Good, because she's the alpha here, not you." He takes a leisurely sip of his new glass of wine, examining Victor over the rim. "I'd rather lose my position than spend one more minute pretending you're worth the air you breathe, Victor," Lyra tells him, releasing his wrist. She feels the weight of every stare in the room, her momentary victory hollow as the reality of her situation sinks in. She's just torpedoed her last chance at an alliance and made a spectacle of herself in front of the most powerful alpha on the continent all in the same minute. Perhaps she really doesn't deserve being an alpha. She should be smarter than this. "To hurry!" a voice calls from behind her. She turns to find Derek Westwood following her, that infuriating smirk still playing on his lips. "Home," Lyra says tersely. "Now, if you'll excuse me." "Why so early?" Derek interrupts, sounding genuinely confused. "This party's just getting started. No one ever leave my parties this early. In case you missed it," Lyra replies with an eye roll. "I just broke my engagement with the only potential mate my council managed to find me." "Ah, yes." Derek nods, then frowns. "So," he adds, sounding confused. "So now I won't be finding another mate in time." Lyra gives him a withering look. "I'm going to lose my pack in a matter of weeks, and on top of that, my dress is ruined." "Oh, don't be so dramatic," Derek interrupts with a wave of the hand. "I'll help." Lyra narrows her eyes. "How so?" "Simple," he replies. "You need a new dress. I'll get you one. And you need a new mate. I'll get you one of those too." Lyra rolls her eyes. "Really? You'll help me find a mate?" "Of course. I already have the perfect one in mind." Lyra looks around the room. "Who?" she says, crossing her arms. Derek's smirk widens into something almost predatory. "Me," he declares, as his blue eyes lock onto hers. Chapter 2. Lyra. Lyra stands in a private dressing room staring at the array of expensive dresses Derek's staff has brought in. The party's music and chatter filter from downstairs as she tries to make sense of what is happening, and notably, why the heck does Derek Westwood, heir to the oldest werewolf fortune on the continent, notorious playboy and alpha to half the territory east, want to mate with her of all people. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes perfect sense, Derek calls out cheerfully from his seat, just outside the changing area, as if reading her thoughts. You need a mate. I need a mate. Let's be mates. Why do you need a mate? Lyra asks, shaking her head as the attendant presents her with a dress seemingly woven from actual gold threads. I'm just hoping to grow old with someone, you know, Derek calls back. You don't need to be mated for that. Lyra peeks her head around the privacy screen to look at him. Your well-paid staff will grow old with you? Derek clutches his chest dramatically. Cold. He pauses and adds, but valid. There's a distinct flicker in his expression, a shadow of something urgent. But it's gone so quickly, Lyra almost thinks she imagined it. Except she didn't. Something is definitely off. Fine. Derek admits, reading her dubious expression, I want a seat on the National Wolf Council. Lyra raises an eyebrow as she disappears behind the screen again. What does that have to do with me? The council is voting on a replacement for Elder Blackwell in a month, Derek explains. He passed rather suddenly, and they're scrambling to fill his seat. Let me guess, Lyra says, as the attendant helps her slip into a midnight blue gown. They've rejected you before. 3 times, Derek confirms. They claim I'm not serious enough. Why would they think that? Lyra gasps, sarcasm dripping from every word. For starters, I have what some might call a playboy reputation, Derek says, and she can hear the air quotes. Plus, no air. Taking a mate would show I'm ready for responsibility. Lyra nods to herself as the attendant fastens the back of the dress. That actually makes sense. Fine, she says, but why me? The silence that follows her question is suspicious and long. Lyra hurries out of her dressing room, stepping out in a black dress that hugs her curves in a way her usual practical clothes never do. Well, she prompts, crossing her arms. Much better, Derek replies, eyeing her dress approvingly. Lyra rolls her eyes. I don't mean the outfit, smartass. I mean, you didn't answer my question. Derek hesitates. Can't you believe I fell for you at first sight? No, Lyra replies flatly. All right, Derek's smirk returns. I heard about your situation. You need a mate for business reasons, and you're in a hurry. Am I right? Lyra nods slowly as Derek goes on, and I need a mate to get on the council, but neither of us actually wants to get married. He pauses, unless, of course, you've fallen for me at first sight. The question is half joke, half genuine inquiry. Definitely not. Lyra replies. Good. Derek nods. So, here's my proposition. We meet for 1 year. I get my council seat. You get legitimacy, and after a year, we break the bond and divorce. Lyra's mouth actually drops open. A business arrangement was one thing, but a temporary mating? Who did that? You're crazy, she says, genuinely stunned. But Derek pushes. But it just might work, Lyra admits reluctantly. She paces the small room, her mind racing. On the plus side, she'd get an immediate alliance with the strongest pack in the territory and secure her position. But on the other hand, was a fake mating even doable? Wouldn't there be potential physical complications from breaking a bond? What if my pack just wants me to find another mate once we break things off? She asks aloud. Derek shakes his head. They won't. If we do this, we might divorce as a couple after a year, but your pack will remain under my protection for good. The sincerity in his voice startles her. That's awfully generous, she comments, frowning. Too generous, in fact. She thinks she has much more to gain than Derek does. Getting on the council is important, but enough to pledge permanent protection to my pack. It seems too good to be true. So, we have a deal, Derek prompts, glancing at his watch. The party is still going, and I'd like to announce our engagement tonight. Tonight? Lyra's eyes widen. That's moving awfully fast. Time is of the essence, Derek reminds her. Council votes in a month, remember? Lyra frowns, her fingers unconsciously touching the side of her neck where the claiming mark would go. For this to work, we would need to publicly mark each other, she observes. Form an actual mating bond. The mating bond isn't something to be taken lightly. It's ancient magic, primal and binding. Every werewolf knows the stories of mates who tried to separate, only to be driven mad by the severed connection. Derek notices her worried expression. This would all be for show, he assures her. I don't expect you to share my bed after the claim, nor ever. Lyra crosses her arms. Good. She nods because that's one potential issue off the table. But don't you worry about breaking the mating bond, she adds. Probably a bit, Derek shrugs, but we won't let it set or deepen. Once we're mated, we can each do our own thing after a brief fake honeymoon period. where we don't even need to be in the same room, and then we barely have to see each other for the whole year. Lyra studies him. He has an answer for everything. It's almost like he's rehearsed this, but she doesn't have a lot of options. She needs to do what's right for her pack. We'll need a contract, she says firmly, something legally binding. Obviously, Derek smirks. My lawyer will reach out to your lawyer. He extends his hand, his blue eyes meeting hers. Do we have a deal? He asks. Lyra hesitates, then puts her palm in his, thinking it's not like she has much to lose, and being very, very wrong. Chapter 3. Derek. Derek sits at his desk, flipping through the wedding contract his lawyer sent over. He doesn't really read it. The terms are irrelevant. It's all for show. His eyes drift to the calendar. His 30th birthday is circled in red. A knock pulls him out of his thoughts. Alpha Westwood, his assistant says, standing in the doorway. Ryder Blackwood is on the line. Third time today. Derek sighs. Tell him I'll call back later. With all due respect, sir, he seems quite insistent. Of course he is. Ryder's one of the few people who actually challenges him. Derek values that. Just not right now. Fine, put him through. The phone rings a moment later. Derek picks up, already bracing himself. Westwood speaking. What the war did you do? Ryder's voice explodes through the receiver. Derek leans back, feet up on the desk. You'll have to be more specific. I just got a wedding invitation from you. Yeah, and Ryder sputters. Last week you weren't even seeing anyone. Suddenly, you're getting married. To whom? Derek glances at his hand. There's a small crack in one fingernail, something his body would normally heal instantly. He flexes, waiting for it to mend. It doesn't. You know how it is, he says. When my eyes met hers, it hit me like a ton of bricks. A pause. Are you saying she's your faded mate? Ryder asks, excitement creeping in. God, no. Nothing like that. So it's a business transaction, pretty much. Let me guess. Isabella Danes, her father controls those oil fields you've been circling. Lyra Wilder, Derek corrects. Who? Alpha of a small pack on my eastern border. Nice girl. He thinks she's nice. Hard to say after knowing her for an hour. Never heard of her. You planning to merge packs? No. She's keeping her alpha status. Independence is important to her. Then what are you getting out of this? Derek tosses a paperweight between his hands. What's with the interrogation? Can't a guy just get married? Not when it's you. For a second, Derek considers telling Ryder the truth. But then he remembers. Relationships are transactions. Sharing won't help either of them. I'm not getting any younger, he says. Thought it was time to settle down. It's not a lie, just not the full truth. Besides, once I made it, I'll finally get that national council seat. You could buy your way in, Ryder groans. But where's the fun in that? Maybe I want to be elected based on merit. Ever think of that? Ryder snorts. Come on, what's really going on? This is the problem with real friends. They ask questions. Most people in Derek's life don't. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. Now, I'm definitely worried. Does this have anything to do with your conversation with Kate? Derek's grip tightens on the phone. So, she told you she's my mate. Mates tell each other everything, Ryder says, which you'd know if you actually thought about what taking a mate entails. What's there to know? We have a contract. I'll bite her. She'll bite me. Done. Kate said you were asking about that magician. Derek's jaw tenses. Perhaps. Well, did you meet with him? Ryder's voice sharpens. Derek remembers the strange bookshop, the man with ancient eyes, the air thick with power. He's actually a pretty chill guy. I can't believe you. He's dangerous. Derek, please tell me you didn't wish for anything. Derek knows the price. You lose what you value most. But what he values is already slipping away. Of course not. I'm not an idiot. Debatable. I just asked for advice. He's ancient. He knows things about... About what? Ryder presses. Derek traces the scar on his forearm. A hunting injury from last month. It should have healed. It didn't. Nothing that concerns you, he says briskly. Now, if you'll excuse me. No, I'm not excusing you. Tell me what's going on. Are you in trouble? No, and he means it. Everything's going to be fine. I have to go see you at the wedding. You're my best man, by the way. What? Since when? Since now. And you should probably start planning my bachelor party. Derek. He hangs up. Chapter 4. Lyra. Lyra stares at her reflection in the ornate mirror, hardly recognizing herself. Her wedding gown sparkles with cascading pearls, the train stretching for what feels like miles. Outside the window, the spectacle unfolds. Hundreds of guests fill the Westwood Estate's gardens. Apparently, Derek knows everyone who matters. She even spotted Kate Winters earlier, another rare female alpha, someone whose progressive policies Lyra admires. Maybe Derek would introduce them later. This alliance will elevate her pack, she reminds herself, adjusting her veil for the 10th time. A soft knock interrupts her thoughts. Flynn enters, handsome but somber in his formal suit. "You still have time to change your mind, you know," he says, his eyes widening slightly at the sight of her. "Shut up!" Lyra snaps. "This dress looks fantastic." Flynn rolls his eyes. "Not what I meant, Lyra. A mating bond is sacred. It should come from love. Not everyone has the luxury of marrying for love," she replies, meeting his gaze at last. Flynn falls silent, guilt flickering across his face. He left her to shoulder the pack's burdens alone. "You should have at least had a customary courting period," he mutters. Why the big hurry? Lyra clenches her fists. "Give me one solution that works as quickly and effectively as what Derek Westwood is offering. An alliance with his pack means immediate security resources. And what does he get? A council seat." Flynn scoffs. Come on, with his money and connections, he could buy that seat 10 times over. She shifts uncomfortably. She hasn't seen Derek since that night at the party when he draped her in jewels and announced their engagement like he was showing off a new acquisition. One dance, a warm hand on her back, and then he vanished back into his world. "The contract is signed," she says. "Guests have arrived, and most importantly, the pack needs this." "A bond isn't just paperwork, Lyra," Flynn says gently. "When Juliet and I mated, it changed everything. You feel their emotions. Their absence becomes physical pain. I know how bonds work. Do you? Because Derek Westwood isn't exactly known for his fidelity or commitment." "Flynn," she interrupts, "I'm doing this now. Either support me for trying my best for our pack or leave." Something shifts in his expression. Realization, maybe. He nods sadly. But as Flynn walks her down the aisle, she keeps her gaze fixed on the marble floor because he's not wrong. She's about to be mated to a stranger, and she has no idea what to expect. They reach the altar, and Lyra finally looks up, only to find an empty space where Derek should be. Lyra meets Flynn's annoyed glance, then forces herself to scan the crowd. Curious and pitying expressions stare back at her. Whispers ripple through the gathering. "Ryder!" A sharp female voice calls from the front row. "Where the torch is Derek?" The best man shrugs helplessly at the woman. "Kate Winters." Lyra realises with a surge of mortification. "Well, don't just stand there, you big oaf," Kate snaps. "Go find him." Ryder turns to obey, just as a side door bursts open. Derek Westwood strides in. Tie askew, hair slightly mussed, wearing a ridiculous expression of exaggerated alarm that somehow still manages to look charming. I'm here, he calls, waving cheerfully. "Sorry, everyone. Lost track of time." He weaves through the crowd with the confident swagger of someone who's never faced real consequences. Lyra rolls her eyes so hard it nearly hurts. The crowd actually applauds as he makes his way down the aisle like he's done something heroic instead of nearly ruining their wedding. When he reaches the altar, slightly out of breath, Lyra notes it. Odd, the estate isn't that big. Then Derek pecks her cheek. "And how are you today, my future lover?" he murmurs. Up close, Lyra notices more. His skin is pale beneath his tan. Faint shadows linger under his eyes. "Is everything all right?" she asks, frowning. His scent is off. The familiar notes of cologne and alpha musk are there, but underneath is something metallic. Blood. "All good," Derek says, grinning as he turns to greet the officiant. "May we begin now, Alpha?" the officiant asks. "Don't ask me," Derek replies with a shrug. "Ask my future mate." The officiant turns to Lyra, who nods stiffly as the ceremony unfolds, sharing wine from silver goblets and binding their wrists in red silk. So ancient rituals meet legal human binding. She tries to ignore how Derek's hand wrapped in gloves feel in hers. This is nothing, she tells herself, for the real binding will come later in front of a much smaller audience. In only a few hours, she and Derek will be exchanging claiming bites. Chapter 5. Lyra. We gather in the sacred tradition of our ancestors to witness the claiming bite that will bind these alphas in body, spirit, and magic. Lyra gulps. Standing in the private chamber of the Westwood estate, she is acutely aware of the witnesses watching as she faces Derek. In moments, she'll be bound irrevocably, magically to a virtual stranger. "Now please step forward," the officiant tells them, interrupting his speech. When Lyra finally meets Derek's eyes, his blue gaze is steady, unexpectedly serious. He takes her hands and his gloved ones as the officiant finishes the ancient rite. You may now mark each other with the claiming bite. The female traditionally begins. Lyra freezes. Her heart pounds wildly, Derek's scent pressing in around her. Cedar, smoke, and that haunting tang of not yet healed blood. She wants to ask why he's still wearing gloves, but then he unbuttons his shirt, exposing the smooth arch of his throat, and all she can think is, "Oh God, this is really happening." As panic surges, "Would you prefer I go first?" Derek murmurs, voice barely above a whisper. She nods, not out of fear, but because something primal in her needs to know what this will feel like. He steps closer, the heat of his body closing in. One hand rests on her hip, the other cradles the back of her head. His mouth grazes her neck, gentle, reverent. The moment trembles with possibility. "Lyra," he whispers. "Yes." His teeth sink in. Pain, sharp and brilliant, bursts through her. She gasps, the sound echoing against stone, but the pain melts quickly, turning to heat, molten and golden. The bond ignites. She feels everything, the taste of her blood on his tongue, the rush of heat through his body, the way his control falters as the bond roots deep. Her knees buckle. A moan escapes her lips, involuntary. Her hands clutch his arms for balance, overwhelmed by his scent, now addictive, craved. His mouth lingers, tongue lapping at the wound in slow, deliberate strokes. It's meant to soothe, but it burns, tender and raw. She arches into him before she can stop herself. Her fingers thread through his hair, meant to pull him away, but instead they keep him there. The bond tightens, anchoring her to him. It feels like being claimed completely. When he finally pulls back, his pupils are blown wide. His lips are slick with her blood. It should disturb her. It doesn't. It tempts. "Your turn," he rasps. She doesn't hesitate. She surges forward and sinks her teeth into his neck. Derek growls, deep, guttural animal. His body jerks, hands gripping her waist as pleasure crashes back into her like lightning. There's no boundary between them anymore, just shared sensation, urgent and endless. The bond explodes wide open. Lyra gasps, her whole body lighting up. She feels everything he is, pain, restraint, desire, and buried beneath it, loneliness. A final pulse locks it into place like a knot pulling tight. "It's done. Congratulations," the officiant says, voice subdued. "May your union be blessed. I'll leave you to complete the bond in private." The soft click of the door somehow final. Silence descends, and with it heat. The air thickens, suffocates. Lyra and Derek stare at each other. Something pulls. She feels it in her bones. Invisible threads tighten, drawing her toward him. They've drifted closer without realizing. Derek swallows hard. "Thank you," he says. Before she can answer, "Si." He touches her shoulder briefly and flashes a smile, strained, too bright. "Well, I should get going," he says lightly. "Wouldn't want this bond to deepen too much, would we?" And then he's gone. Lyra blinks after him, stunned, breathless, her body still buzzing with the echo of what just happened. Chapter 6. Lyra. Lyra wakes up disoriented, her mind struggling to place the unfamiliar ceiling above her. Sunlight streams through gauzy curtains onto silk sheets that definitely aren't hers. She panics for a second, then memory floods back. The wedding, the mating ceremony, the bond. She takes a deep breath, steadying herself. This is fine. This is what she wanted. According to their agreement, she and Derek will remain sequestered at his estate for 2 weeks, pretending their bond is legitimate while it settles. Then they can return to their separate lives, meeting only when necessary. 2 weeks in a luxurious prison shouldn't be too unbearable. The bed is sinfully comfortable, the room more spacious than her living room, and the arms holding her are surprisingly gentle. Lyra freezes. Arms. She twists around abruptly to find herself face to face with a sleeping Derek Westwood, his features softened in slumber. His arm is draped casually across her waist, holding her against his chest as if they've been sleeping this way for years. She gapes at him, violently, extracts herself from his embrace, then continues to stare in disbelief. And then she proceeds to do the only sensible thing to do and hits him on the arm. "What the—" she exclaims. One blue eye snaps open, regarding her with irritation. "What?" Derek asks, voice rough with sleep. "You're in my bed," Lyra points out, gesturing wildly at his sprawled form. He props himself up on one elbow, looking around with confusion. "Well, technically," he says, flopping back down. "It's still my bed. After all, this is my house." Lyra grabs a pillow and hits him with it, satisfaction chorusing through her at his muffled grunt. "We're married," she reminds him with false sweetness. "What's yours is mine, baby." Derek settles deeper into the mattress. "And what's yours is mine, such as this bed. Good night." Fueled by vindictiveness, Lyra jumps out of bed and yanks the curtains fully open, flooding the room with bright morning light. "Now you're just being mean," Derek mutters, throwing an arm over his eyes. "Why are you here?" Lyra demands. "Don't know," he shrugs. "Can't remember." The words are dismissive. But through their new bond, Lyra feels a quick undercurrent of genuine confusion and uncertainty. Beneath that, she senses an ache behind her eyes that isn't her own, and a rolling nausea that makes her own stomach clench in sympathy. "Are you hungover?" she asks, bewildered. "What else could it be? Shifters don't get sick. Ever." Derek's eyes snap open at that. "Of course not," he replies, sounding genuinely offended by the suggestion. He sits up, reaching for the clock on the bedside table, presumably to check the time. Suddenly, he freezes, alarm piercing through their bond like an electric shock. Lyra follows his gaze to his left hand. A deep gash runs across his palm, angry, red, and raw. She remembers the blood on her own hand after the ceremony, how his glove had been damp with it. "Did you hurt your hand again?" she asks, puzzled. The wound shouldn't still look so fresh. Among their kind, injuries healed in minutes, hours at most. For serious damage, a broken bone might take a day, but a cut like this, it should have sealed within an hour. "Derek," she prompts when he doesn't respond. Just stares at his hand in what looks like shock. "It didn't work," he mutters, cursing under his breath so quietly she almost misses it. For a brief, unguarded moment, raw fear pulses through their bond. Then nothing, as if a door has slammed shut between them. Derek springs to his feet, his movements jerky and uncoordinated. "What's going on?" Lyra asks, completely dumbfounded. Derek ignores her, stumbling out of bed, still wearing his wrinkled wedding suit from yesterday. Lyra doesn't think now is the right time to begrudge him for keeping his shoes on. "Where are you going?" She follows, hurrying to catch up as he strides toward the bedroom door. Derek remains silent, picking up his pace. He reaches the door, yanks it open, then to her surprise, slams it shut again, with enough force to rattle the hinges. After a pause, he reopens it, staring into the hallway with growing frustration. "Derek," Lyra insists, "what's going on with quiet? I need to focus." He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, then reopens the door. The same hallway greets him, and he releases a frustrated sigh. "Derek! Silence!" he commands, his tone so authoritative that Lyra is momentarily startled. Derek rips the doorknob, closes his eyes again in concentration, and pulls the door open once more. From Lyra's position behind him, she can only see his reaction, his shoulders relaxing, a soft exhale of relief. "Perfect," Derek murmurs to himself. Before Lyra can move closer to see what he's looking at, Derek steps through the doorway and pulls the door shut behind him with a decisive click. "Hey!" Lyra exclaims, rushing forward. She grabs the handle, yanks the door open, and finds only the same empty hallway from before, stretching toward the grand staircase at the far end. No Derek in sight. Lyra steps out, looking both ways down the corridor. "Derek!" she calls, her voice echoing against the marble floors and high ceilings. "Nothing!" She walks back into the bedroom and checks the adjoining bathroom, the walk-in closet, even looks under the bed. Her new mate has completely vanished. Chapter 7. Derek. Derek stumbles across the threshold, the warm air of the bookshop enveloping him like a physical force. It looks exactly as he remembers it. Impossibly tall bookshelves stretching upward, and that distinctive smell of old paper mingled with something otherworldly. Moonlight streams through windows, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floor. "You again." The magician's unimpressed voice comes from behind a stack of books. He emerges, green eyes, flat and unreadable, his copper hair falling carelessly across his forehead. "And after we spent hours explaining why you shouldn't make a wish to break that curse of yours," he adds, sounding put off. The human girl who works for him appears from between the shelves, carrying what looks like an ancient scroll. Her eyes widen when she spots Derek. "Oh, great. The rich wolf is back." She sets the scroll down with a sigh after we spend hours explaining. "I didn't come to make a wish," Derek snaps, impatient. Though I'm very much still cursed, Adrian tilts his head, studying him like a bug under glass. "What was your curse again?" "We see a lot of people with curses. Losing my powers," Derek snaps, holding up his injured hand. The cut from before the wedding ceremony still hasn't healed, a glaring reminder that time is running out. He'd almost missed his own wedding trying to come up with something to hide away that thing. He needs to find a mate before he turns 30 or he becomes human, Iris supplies, perching on a nearby stool. Oh, that's not one of mine, is it? Adrienne observes with a frown. Now, for once, you had nothing to do with it, Iris begins. Focus. Derek interrupts, frustration mounting. You assured me finding a mate would break the curse. Adrienne picks up a dusty book, flipping through it absently. I told you taking a mate would be easier than making a wish. Derek pauses at that. What's that supposed to mean? He asks. What I said before, Adrienne replies. I could break your curse for you, but it would cost you. What I value most? Yes, I remember. Derek snaps. Which would most likely be the very powers you're hoping to preserve, Adrienne reminds him. Hence why I encouraged you to try breaking it like everyone in your family has. And I did. Derek waves his injured hand in the magician's direction. I made it now. And in case you haven't noticed, curse still on. The Westwood family curse dated back generations, ever since a great-great-grandfather pissed off a powerful witch. Every firstborn would lose their wolf side at 30 if they hadn't mated. Derek had grown up hearing the stories, seeing what happened to his Aunt Eleanor when she refused to mate. She'd lost her powers, her place, everything. He always figured he'd find someone in time, never imagined it wouldn't work. Are you certain about the curse's conditions? Adrienne asks, setting his book aside. Of course, Derek replies. My father had it. My grandfather had it. Can't you ask them about it? Iris interjects. Both dead, Derek snaps. Though not from the curse, he adds, feeling like that's somehow relevant information. How do you know it's still active? She asks. He holds up his hand. I should have healed by now. A few months ago, it would have taken seconds. I'm becoming more human every day, and by 30 it'll be permanent. Oh, Iris shrugs. Being human's not so bad. Derek glares. The thought makes his skin crawl. Weak, vulnerable. No more shifting, no more power, no more leading his pack. He'd lose everything. Maybe not to someone who's never known anything else. He growls. To me, it's torture. Maybe you didn't mate properly. Adrienne muses. We did everything by the book, Derek insists. Found a good candidate, signed a contract, threw a party, and most importantly, his voice trails off as the memory of the mating ceremony floods back. He remembers sinking his teeth into Lyra's skin, the taste of her blood on his tongue, and the startled noise she'd made. Then he remembers how her teeth had found his neck in return, how the world had imploded. I'm sure we're mated, Derek finally says, shaking off the memory. We signed a contract and everything. How romantic, Iris Kimmel sarcastic. It wasn't, Derek confirms, not understanding why she's giving him a death glare. What? Did you even tell her? Iris demands that this was all about breaking your curse. Of course not, Derek scoffs. I'm not about to reveal my Achilles heel to a stranger. I'm not an idiot. Your mate is a stranger. Adrienne's eyebrows shoot up. Why are we helping him? Iris mutters. He's so selfish. That poor girl doesn't even know she's been tricked. I haven't tricked her. Derek interrupts, offended. She agreed to marry me for advantageous business reasons, which I fully intend to uphold. That's why we have a contract. He doesn't understand their reactions. It's not like Lyra gets nothing out of this arrangement, and he's not holding her hostage. They'll divorce soon. It's a perfectly fair transaction, isn't it? At least he thought it was. The accusation in Iris's eyes makes him uncomfortable. But surely, she snaps, if she loves you, Whoa. Derek holds up his hands. Who said anything about love? I told you this was contractual. Adrienne's palm connects with his forehead in a dramatic face palm. The sound actually echoes through the shop. What? Derek asks, confusion mounting. Adrienne looks at him with pained disbelief. The curse you have is about emotions, not contracts. Derek blinks, trying to wrap his head around that. I don't follow, he confesses. Mings generally happen because someone is in love, Adrienne explains as if talking to a particularly dense child. You bought a mate, but the bond isn't sincere, and sincere is what the curse demands. Wait! Derek protests. My father never said anything about that. He just said I needed to find a mate before turning 30. And you assumed the legal and physical bond was what mattered, Adrienne concludes with a sigh. That's generally how things work for our kind, Derek says defensively. Curses are specific, Adrienne explains. They operate on the letter of their conditions. If yours requires true love, then a marriage of convenience won't satisfy it. Derek feels a chill run down his spine. So, what are you saying? He asks jokingly, that I should have made sure my mate was in love with me or something. The grim look he receives in response makes his stomach plummet. Chapter 8. Lyra. Lyra paces her new bedroom. The bond pulses at the base of her neck, an ever-present reminder of the man she's now tied to. A man who vanished 4 hours ago, right after their claiming ceremony. She cycled through anger, confusion, and a strange hollowness she refuses to label as disappointment. With a sigh, she slips into the hallway, hoping to find a kitchen or someone who can point her in the right direction. She hasn't eaten since the reception. The Westwood estate is a gilded maze, marble floors, priceless art, too many doors. Twice she gets lost, stumbling into a library with floor-to-ceiling shelves and a music room full of instruments she doesn't recognise. Eventually, she finds a dining area. A staff member appears instantly. "Mrs. Westwood," the woman says with a small bow. "Would you care for breakfast?" The title catches her off guard. Mrs. Westwood, that's her now, isn't it? The thought nearly makes her laugh. After breakfast, she explores the master bathroom, larger than her childhood home. The tub calls to her. She sinks into the hot water, scented with unfamiliar oils that still somehow smell perfect. Memories of the past day loop in her mind. The wedding, the claiming bite, Derek's retreat, the blood on his glove. Something's wrong and she knows it. It's not your problem, she reminds herself. But the bond insists otherwise. When she steps out, wrapped in a plush robe, she's made a decision. She needs answers. She opens the bedroom door and freezes. Derek is sitting on her bed, leg bouncing with nervous energy, though his smile is dazzling when he looks up. "There's my beautiful mate," he says, patting the mattress beside him. Lyra crosses her arms, suspicious. "What's up with you?" "I thought we should get to know each other," Derek replies, spreading his arms invitingly. "Perhaps while cuddling." "No," Lyra says, narrowing her eyes. His smile doesn't waver. "Fair enough. Then what about dinner? Already ate. Dessert?" he suggests unfazed. There's always room for more dessert. His face and posture project perfect charm and relaxation, but pressing against her consciousness through their bond is a current of tension so strong it's almost electric. He's nervous. No, he's anxious about something. "Fine," she agrees, curiosity overcoming her irritation. "I'll meet you downstairs in a bit." The relief that washes through the bond is palpable. Perfect. 20 minutes after he leaves, Lyra changes into comfortable pajama pants and a t-shirt, deliberately choosing the most casual outfit possible. Whatever game Derek is playing, she refuses to dress up for it. When she descends the grand staircase 20 minutes later, a staff member directs her to a dining room she hasn't seen before. Pushing open the double doors, Lyra stops dead in her tracks. The room has been transformed into something out of a romance novel. Dozens of candles cast a golden glow over a table laden with desserts of every description. Flowers spill from vases and wind around candelabras. In one corner, a string quartet plays softly, and in the centre of it stands Derek, wearing a tailored suit that makes him look like he stepped off a magazine cover. "The band is this?" Lyra gestures at the entire setup, completely bewildered. "Dessert!" Derek exclaims, waving at a chair. "Please sit." Lyra looks around suspiciously. "There are dudes playing the violin. Do you prefer the piano, darling?" Derek asks, grabbing her hand and leading her toward the table. She pulls her hand away. "Okay, seriously, what's going on?" "Nothing." His smile is too bright, too forced. Through their bond, his anxiety spikes. "Then why are you stressed?" she challenges. He pouts. Actually pouts like a child caught in a lie. "Maybe because you're tense." The realization hits her like a cold wave. If she can feel his emotions, then he can feel hers too. The thought makes her feel oddly exposed. "Try the chocolate soul." Derek encourages dipping a spoon into a dessert and lifting it to her mouth. "It'll help." "Derek, I know something's up. Stop trying to distract me with before she can finish." He slips the spoon between her lips. The taste explodes on her tongue. Rich, velvety chocolate with hints of orange and a whisper of sea salt. "That is actually delicious," she admits. "Right." Derek beams, aiming to give her another bite. "Did you make it yourself?" she asks, curious despite her suspicion. "Would you like it more if I did?" he counters. Lyra snorts. "It's actually my favourite dessert. My mum used to make it." "I know," Derek says softly. "Your brother told me." Lyra gapes at him. "You asked my brother about my favourite dessert?" "Well, of course. How else was I supposed to know what to prepare?" Something warm and unfamiliar flutters in Lyra's chest. It's such a small thing, asking Flynn about her preferences, but it's thoughtful. She hadn't been expecting thoughtfulness. "Okay, what's going on?" she asks, retreating to suspicion as the safer option. This morning you didn't remember how you got into my room and then you got all weird and disappeared. Derek glances nervously at the string quartet, his hand reaching for hers again on the table. And your hand is still injured, isn't it? Lyra continues, her voice rising, which is why you're wearing your gloves. Derek plants his hand over her mouth to silence her. Their eyes lock, and his practically scream at her to be quiet. Then he turns to the musicians and staff. "Leave us," he commands, his tone allowing no argument. The room clears in seconds, leaving them alone among the candles and flowers. "What's going on with you?" Lyra demands, using the tone that makes her pack members snap to attention. "Answers now." "Fine, shoo." Derek raises his hands in surrender. "I need us to renegotiate the terms of our contract." Lyra tenses, her mind immediately jumping to worst-case scenarios. "How so?" she asks cautiously. "I'm not about to become your side piece, Luna." No, he interrupts quickly. "You'll still get the full support of my pack, as promised, okay?" She relaxes slightly. "Then what is it you would like to review?" Through their bond, she feels his fear spike dramatically, and it hits her with such force that her own heart starts racing in response. Whatever this is, it genuinely terrifies him. "I'm going to need you to do something for me," he says, meeting her eyes. "It's very important. Vital, in fact." "Okay, what?" Derek sighed deeply. "I need you to fall in love with me." He pauses, then adds with complete seriousness. "For real?" Lyra blinks, waits for the punchline. When it doesn't come, she starts to laugh. Chapter 9. Lyra. "I'm sorry. Did you just say you want me to fall in love with you?" Lyra repeats for what feels like the 100th time. "That's right." Derek beams. "Starting right now would be great." "Right." Lyra stands, shoving her chair back from the candle-lit table. "I'm going to bed already." Derek blinks, hopping up to follow her. "Well, if you insist." "Alone," she snaps. But Derek Westwood is not a man who takes no for an answer. The next morning, Lyra wakes to find every surface in her room buried beneath flowers. "Too much?" Derek asks, leaning in the doorway with a self-satisfied grin. "I'm allergic to roses." She lies flatly, just to be difficult. "No, you're not." He grins wider. "I asked Flynn, stop talking to my brother. By lunchtime, the roses are replaced with lilies. By dinner, orchids." When Lyra complains about the waste, Derek donates them all to local hospitals, which is actually kind of nice. Damn him. Then the following day come the gifts, and Lyra can't even run away. They're struck playing pretend honeymoon for the next 2 weeks. So she has to take it when a Ferrari appears in the driveway. "Your brother mentioned you like sports cars," Derek explains cheerfully. Has to at least look at the diamond necklaces. Tad arrive in velvet boxes to match your eyes and has to read the small island deed presented next. "Everyone needs a vacation home," he insists. "You can't buy, my love," Lyra snaps. "Obviously," Derek agrees. "Which is why I also wrote you a poem." He clears his throat dramatically. "Read it to me, and I will literally bite you," Lyra warns. Derek's eyes light up. "Is that a promise?" he asks, wiggling his brows. Through their bond, his amusement hits her like a wave. The bastard is enjoying this. Worse, underneath the grand gestures and ridiculous charm, sincerity keeps slipping through. Thanks to the bond, he has a direct line to her mind. "What's your favourite season?" Derek asks one afternoon. "The season when you leave me alone." "Favourite colour?" "A nice shade of go away." "Oh, come on. I know it's blue like my eyes." He wiggles his brows. Childhood dreams to never have had this conversation. But then he asks about her pack, and his curiosity feels real. That unsettles her. She finds herself answering in fragments, and when his interest deepens, she doesn't know how to handle it. Stupid bond. It blurs everything that should be simple. Derek wants something from her, and she must not believe it's love. Yet something twinges in her chest because beneath the showman's grin, she feels his tension, his fear. Whatever game he's playing, the stakes are higher than he lets on. That night, after he butchers a serenade of "Can't Help Falling in Love with You," retitled, "You can't help falling in love with me," she finally snaps. It doesn't even make sense. She throws her hands in the air. "Why would you want me to fall in love with you now? We're supposed to break our bond in a year." As soon as the words are out, she regrets them. But Derek, stupid, sensitive Derek, feels it through their bond. He follows her to her room. "Is that what's worrying you?" he presses, intrigue and concern bleeding through. Of course. I'm not going to break our bond once you've fallen in love with me, Lyra. Once I've fallen in love with you, she echoes, stunned by his certainty. Come on, he insists. Look into my eyes. Tell me you feel nothing when you look into those eyes. I feel the urge to smack you. She grins and slams the door in his face. Alone, her hand drifts to her chest. The truth is, she does feel something. She feels everything he's trying to hide. Fear, loneliness, and a sort of intrigue that grows the more she resists him. The next morning, she finds him in the library. His perfect hair is tasseled, and there's that faint metallic tang in his scent again. And what about you? She asks softly. Will you be falling in love with me then? He quiets, eyes searching hers. Would you like me to? He asks almost sheepishly. No, I want to fall in love with someone I'm bound to, only for him to feel nothing back, then spend eternity reminded of it every single day, she snaps. You're being sarcastic, aren't you? He asks wearily. Of course I'm being sarcastic, you do. She turns to go, but he catches her arm, gentle, hesitant. Okay, he says slowly. I get it. I've been an ass. Lyra stares at him. It isn't fair to expect you to love me without any hope of reciprocity, he continues, clearing his throat, eyes troubled. If you'd like me to, then I will. I'll try. Try. Lyra repeats, stunned like it's some kind of chore. Well, I can't make any promises, can I? Derek snaps. I mean, you're not making much of an effort at being seductive here. He gestures to her oversized pajamas. Of course I'm not. You're the one who wants me to fall in love with you, not the other way around. Derek crosses his arms and pouts. It's infuriating how cute the pout is. Lyra suspects he knows it. Days blur together. Lyra wears her rattiest sweats. She talks with her mouth full. She leaves wet towels on his expensive furniture. She's trying to wear him down. But the more she pushes, the more entertained he seems. And through the bond, she starts to feel guilt. Look, he says, I just want us to try and make this relationship work, all right? Can we do that? Just give the bond a real chance. Something fragile and frightened pulses through the bond. It catches her off guard. But why now? She asks, folding her arms. What is all this, Derek? You never wanted a real relationship before? He doesn't meet her eyes. I thought of a great idea for a date. See? Lyra interrupts. I'm not stupid. Something's wrong. I feel it through our bond, and every time I bring it up, you distract me with another ridiculous gesture. The Ferrari wasn't ridiculous. He observes, You love it. She does love it, but that's not the point. Stop it, Lyra explodes. Stop trying to distract me with gifts and your stupid charming smile. If you actually want this to work, then be honest with me for once. His breath hitches through their bond. She feels his hesitation waver. Fine, he whispers, looking away. I'll tell you everything. You will? She asks, surprised. Yes, I will. He swallows. If you go on an actual date with me. The vulnerability in his eyes makes her want to run. This isn't the flashy alpha she knows how to handle. One date, she says, her voice rougher than she'd like. And then you tell me what's really going on. He nods. Chapter 10. The restaurant is all warm woods, gleaming silverware, exactly the kind of place Lyra would have expected Derek to choose. Except for one detail, a human restaurant. She raises an eyebrow as they're led to a secluded corner booth, worried someone might overhear something compromising. The Marrige pulls out her chair with practiced elegance, and she catches only the faintest widening of his eyes at her casual dress. She'd deliberately chosen jeans and a simple blouse, refusing to play into Derek's games. Can't a man just want good Italian food? Derek deflects. When Lyra says nothing, though, he sighs. Fine. You're right, he admits, running his hand through his hair. God, this bond's so annoying, he adds. Lyra tracks his movements with her eyes. Sometimes when Derek moves, she swears she can feel it pull taut between them. Like now, as he settles into his seat across from her, she has to resist the urge to lean forward to close the distance. It's irritating how her body seems to crave his proximity. He's right, their bond is annoying. The waiter appears with leather-bound menus, and from which Derek picks something for them with practiced ease. Tell me something about yourself, he asks eventually. That wasn't part of the deal, Lyra observes. Does everything has to be a deal with you? He leans forward. This is a date, Lyra. People date to get to know each other. Through their bond, she feels his genuine curiosity. Fine. She takes a fortifying sip of wine. What do you want to know? Something juicy, personal, Derek suggests, sounding excited by the prospect. You want to know my first kiss went or something? Lyra jokes. though her smile falls when something resembling aggravation flashes across Derek's face. Not really, he replies, sounding put out. Not when you and I haven't even kissed yet. What a baby, Lyra thinks, though. For some reason, she finds herself looking frantically for something to make him smile again. Fine. You want something real? I resented my brother for years, she declares. Derek's eyebrows shoot up. Tantrum forgotten. But you two seem so close, he observes. Yeah, I guess we are. She traces a pattern on the tablecloth. But growing up, it always felt like I had to work twice as hard as him, only to be valued half as much. Thus isn't something she ever told anyone because it embarrasses her, makes her feel petty. I trained so hard to make myself stronger, but at every council meeting, every pack gathering, they'd look to him first. Are you sure it wasn't just because he was older? Derek observes cautiously. Lyra gives him a flat look. How many female alphas do you know? Point taken. Derek takes a careful sip of wine. Their food arrives and Derek watches with amusement as Lyra practically inhales her first few bites. I still feel awful for resenting Flynn, though, she admits eventually. He never asked for any of it. Sounds like you resented the system more than your brother, Derek observes, reaching for the wine bottle again. Your turn, Lyra says. What's really going on with you? I'm having a lovely dinner with my beautiful mate. That's what. Lyra refrains from rolling her eyes. She knew this opening up idea was too good to be true. Derek, she scolds. You know what we should do? He leans forward conspiratorially. Dancing. You promise to tell me everything, Lyra protests. And I will. He signals for another bottle of wine later. His eyes find hers suddenly serious despite his playful tone. Are you stalling? Lyra asks. Wouldn't dream of it. When their hands brush, reaching for the bread basket, Derek's fingers linger a moment too long. Sorry, he says, not sounding sorry at all. The bond makes it hard to resist sometimes. You seem to be managing just fine most of the time, Lyra observes, watching him drain his glass again. Do I? There's an edge to his smile now. Maybe I'm just better at hiding it than you think. Hiding what exactly? Many things. He waves for the waiter. More wine. You've had plenty, Lyra says. Nonsense. Besides, you barely touched yours. He leans back, studying her face. You know what your problem is, Lyra? You think too much. Always analysing, always suspicious. Someone has to think, since you're clearly not. Ouch. He presses a hand to his chest in mock hurt. And here I thought we were having a moment. The new wine arrives and Derek pours with exaggerated care. We could be having several moments, he continues, if you'd stop looking for ulterior motives in everything I do. Maybe if you stopped having ulterior motives, Lyra begins. Maybe I just want to spend time with my mate. Derek interrupts. The words come out softer than she thinks he intended. Derek, you're doing it again. He interrupts, wagging a finger at her. I can feel you trying to figure me out through the bond. Very sneaky. Lyra watches him more carefully now. The way he's listing slightly in his chair, how his eyes take a fraction too long to focus. Are you feeling all right? She asks carefully. Never better. He gestures expansively, knocking over his half-full wine glass. And it hits her then. The slight slur in his words, the delayed reactions, the clumsy movements so unlike his usual grace. Derek, she says slowly, are you drunk? He blinks, puzzled, then snorts. Don't be ridiculous, he says. It's human wine. It doesn't affect us. Well, usually. He trails off, staring at his wine glass like it's personally betrayed him. Then he starts laughing, a sound that starts controlled but quickly edges toward hysteria. Oh, this is perfect. This is just... He runs a hand through his perfectly styled hair. First, I can't heel properly. Then, I can barely shift. Now, I can't even handle human alcohol. His laugh has a bitter edge now. What's next? Derek giggles nervously. Reading glasses. Derek. Lyra starts alarmed by the raw fear pulsing through their bond. He's not making any sense right now. Maybe I'll have to start exercising to stay in shape, Derek continues. Or feel cold when it's cold. Can you imagine? Okay, that's enough. She signals urgently for their waiter. Check, please. Now, the cool night air hits them as they exit the restaurant, and Derek stumbles slightly. I'll drive, she tells the valet, plucking the car keys from his hand. Derek allows her to help him into the seat, then immediately starts fiddling with every button on the console. Did you know this car has seat warmers? I've never needed them before. Do you think I'll need them soon? He cuts himself off abruptly. When you're what? Lyra asks carefully, pulling into traffic. But Derek has already moved on, The bond between them feels thick, hazy with wine and something warmer. Once they're back inside his home, he keeps swaying into her space. His usual cologne mixed with expensive wine and that underlying scent that's purely him. "You smell nice," he murmurs. His hand finds her waist, steadying himself. "Have I mentioned that before?" "You're very drunk," she tells him, trying to ignore how the bond purr at their proximity. "Maybe." His thumb traces small circles against her hip, but that doesn't make it less true. "Derek, do you ever want to touch me?" The question comes out soft. "I want to touch you all the time." It's terribly distracting. Through their bond, she feels a surge of longing so intense it makes her breath catch. "You never said anything," she manages. "Of course not." He's playing with a strand of her hair now. "You already think I'm ridiculous." Getting him to his room is an exercise in restraint, because yes, of course she feels it too. That constant pull, the way her skin seems to hum when he's near. And now Derek keeps finding excuses to touch her, a hand at her lower back, fingers brushing her arm, leaning close. She helps him sit on the edge of his bed, trying not to notice how the bond stretches taut between them. "You know what I just realised?" Derek says. "We've never kissed." Before she can react, he leans in and presses his lips to hers. The kiss is surprisingly gentle, almost sweet. Their bond flares bright and hot between them, and for one dangerous moment, Lyra lets herself sink into it. The softness of his mouth, the way he tastes, the bond singing between them. Then he pulls back, blue eyes heavy-lidded. "I suppose I should tell you now," he murmurs, "about what's happening to me." "You don't have to," Lyra protests. No. He waves a hand dismissively, toppling over onto the mattress. "You've been very patient, more than I deserve, really." Lyra sits beside him, careful to maintain distance, even as the bond urges her closer. "I'm listening," Derek sighs, shutting his eyes. She thinks perhaps he's fallen asleep, but then "I'm turning to a human," he murmurs. "Which is why he waves a hand over his form. "Why?" she asks, appalled. She'd noticed something seemed off about his health, but this is why are you turning into a human? "Curse?" Derek mutters. "What?" Through their bond, she feels his fear spike sharply, though his voice remains light. "My great-great-grandfather, he continues, managed to thoroughly offend a rather powerful witch. You know how these things go." He attempts to loosen his tie and nearly strangles himself. "She cursed you to become human?" Lyra asks. "Should I not find a mate before I'm 30, Derek says, cracking an eye open and adding. "A mate who's not just bounded to me for financial reasons, one that, loves you?" Lyra asks, watching Derek nod tiredly. "I didn't know that when I met you," he explains. "I thought having a bond would be enough." Lyra realises everything that happened now, why he'd been in a hurry to find a mate, why he's been trying to make her fall for him. "That's why you've been healing slower," she says slowly. "Why you can barely shift anymore." She wants to be angry. After all, he's been trying to use her to break his curse, and he could have told her before, told her the truth. But through their bond, bitter self-recrimination floods her senses, mixed with growing drowsiness. Perhaps it's because she is magically attuned to his feelings, but she can't help but think that in his shoes, she probably would have done the same. She doesn't think she'd have trusted a stranger with such a damning secret, either, and Derek has been honest about wanting her to fall for him. Just not why. "Do you really not like me at all?" he asks, interrupting her thoughts. "Not even a little bit." She looks down at him, designer suit rumpled, dark hair falling across his forehead, blue eyes clouded with wine, and something that might be hope. For once, his expression matches the vulnerability pulsing through their bond. But before she can answer, his eyes drift shut. He pats her hand with surprising gentleness. "It's okay," he murmurs. "I know you're just here for your pack. I understand." Then he's asleep, leaving Lyra to stare at him in the darkness, her heart beating too fast, and the bond humming between them like a living thing. Because the truth is, she does like him, and she has no idea what to do about it. Chapter 11. Derek wakes to what feels like an army of dwarves mining in his skull. The sunlight streaming through his windows is unbearably bright, and his mouth tastes like something died in it. So, this is a human hangover. Fantastic. He makes it halfway to his private bathroom before the nausea hits. Barely reaching the toilet, he discovers another delightful aspect of being human: violent illness. Alpha Westwood, his housekeeper's voice comes through the door. "Are you all right?" Derek forces his voice to study. "Fine, just exercising, at 6 o'clock in the morning, in your bathroom. New workout regime." He retches again, quieter this time. very exclusive. A pause. Should I call someone? Absolutely not. He summons every ounce of authority he can manage while hugging a toilet. I'm perfectly fine. That will be all. 2 hours and 3 rounds of vomiting later. Derek is decidedly not fine. He's curled on the cool tile floor, wondering if death might be preferable to this when he catches a familiar scent. You look awful, Lyra announces from the doorway. Derek doesn't bother lifting his head. Impossible. I never look awful, right? He hears her moving around his bedroom. Then the bathroom light dims mercifully. Flynn's mate, Juliet, gave me some human hangover remedies. Apparently, you need water, painkillers, and something called electrolytes. I need nothing, Derek declares with dignity, except perhaps a quick death. But Lyra ignores his dramatics, helping him sit up and pressing a bottle of water into his hands. Small sips, she instructs, and take these. He eyes the pills suspiciously. What are they? Advil, very exotic. Despite his protests, he lets her take care of him. The medicine helps, and soon the room stops spinning quite so violently. When she guides him back to bed, he doesn't resist. This is humiliating, he mumbles into his pillow. Yes, because I had such a high opinion of you before. But her touch is gentle as she smooths his hair back from his face. Without thinking, he leans into her hand. You don't have to stay, he says, even as he shifts to rest his head in her lap. Shut up and rest. Surprisingly, he does. Her fingers card through his hair and the bond hums contentedly between them. For the first time since he started losing his powers, he feels safe. He drifts off to the sensation of her hands in his hair and the quiet certainty that she won't tell anyone about this moment of weakness. When he wakes again, it's dark outside. They've shifted in sleep and now he's curled around her, their legs tangled together. The bond pulses warm and drowsy between them, and Derek thinks maybe this mate thing isn't so terrible after all. Morning finds him feeling surprisingly good. His head is clear, his stomach settled, and his mind full of ideas. Lyra took care of him yesterday. He should do something nice for her in return. Something thoughtful. Like she'd appreciate, not his usual grand gestures. He's still planning possibilities when he meets her for breakfast, watching her fidget with her napkin. She works too hard, he thinks, carrying the weight of her pack's expectations. Maybe he could arrange a day just for her, something to help her relax. I think we should break our bond, she says, without preamble. Derek's coffee cup freezes halfway to his mouth. What? You need to find someone to fall in love with you, Lyra continues, her voice gentle but firm. You won't do that while mated to me. He carefully sets down his cup, wanting to protest or perhaps even be hurt. But through their bond, he feels her genuine concern even as something in his chest constricts painfully. Well, he manages a laugh. After yesterday's display, I suppose you won't be falling for me any time. Lyra's eyes soften with a sympathy he doesn't want. Derek, she says, this was always a business arrangement. You need to build something real. He slams his mental walls up, desperate to hide the hurt words cause. Because she's right. This was business. The fact that he started to want more is his problem, not hers. He shouldn't have tried to push her into something more. It was unfair of him, and worse, not particularly strategic, of course. A woman who wouldn't have mated with him if not for his money and status wasn't going to magically start liking him as a human being just because he wanted her to. He should have immediately started looking for a better candidate. A fresh start, but, well, the truth is he sort of liked Lyra a lot, which is probably why he refuses to let her down now. We don't need to break the bond, he says smoothly. You can return to your pack as planned. I'll figure something out. But I made you a promise about protecting your pack. I intend to keep it. Lyra looks and feels like she's about to protest, but Derek cuts her off. Something tight in his chest. Lyra, I insist. It's what we agreed on. I'll be fine. And besides, your pack needs you to be mated for a little while longer. It's barely been 2 weeks, and we've barely managed to work together. She studies him for a long moment. Look, we can leave it for now. But Derek, when you find someone you genuinely care for, we break the bond immediately, okay? Your health takes priority. He maintains his smile until she leaves. Only then does he let it fall. The realization hitting him like a physical blow. He wants her to care for him, not out of obligation or sympathy, but genuinely. He wants lazy mornings and shared jokes and someone who sees past his perfect facade. He wants her, but he's ruined any chance of that with his schemes and manipulations. She'll never trust that his feelings are real now. And maybe that's for the best. She deserves someone who would have been honest from the start. Someone who wouldn't have tried to trick her into falling in love. The irony would be hilarious if it didn't hurt so much, but at least he can give her this. Keeping his promise, protecting her pack, letting her go without guilt. It's not much, but it's the one honest thing he can offer. Chapter 12. Lyra, you're being ridiculous, Flynn says, leaning against the wall of Lyra's office. Why did you even ask me to come, if you're going to act like nothing's wrong? Lyra adjusts her jacket for the third time, glancing at the clock again. 10 minutes until the border territory meeting. 10 minutes until she sees Derek for the first time since leaving his estate a month ago. I'm not acting like nothing's wrong, she replies, shuffling papers on her desk. It's the first official meeting since our alliance, and I want to make sure everything goes smoothly. Flynn gives her a flat look. Right. This has nothing to do with seeing your mate again. He's not. Lyra stops, sighing. Fine. Yes, I'm a little nervous, but that's just because of the bond. It's a natural biological reaction. Natural biological reaction? Flynn repeats, eyebrows raised. Is that what we're calling it now? Lyra glares at him. The bond creates a false sense of connection, she says instead. It's confusing, that's all. Sure. Flynn doesn't sound convinced. Or maybe you just miss him because you like... I don't, she insists. I can't. That wasn't the deal. Since when have emotions ever cared about deals? Before Lyra can respond, there's a knock at the door. May, her assistant, pokes her head in. Alpha Wilder. The Westwood representatives have arrived. Lyra's heart leaps. Show them in, she says, smoothing her expression into one of professional courtesy. May opens the door wider, and Lyra steels herself to see Derek again, to face the rush of emotions she's been trying so hard to suppress. But it's not Derek who walks through the door. Alpha Wilder. Victor smirks, striding into the office like he owns it. What a pleasure to see you again. Lyra stares at him momentarily, stunned. Victor, where's Derek? I mean, Alpha Westwood. Victor's smirk widens at her slip. Alpha Westwood sends his regrets. He had pressing matters to attend to. I've been authorized to speak on his behalf. Flynn steps forward, positioning himself slightly in front of Lyra in a protective gesture she finds both endearing and annoying. We were expecting your Alpha, Flynn says, voice cool. These negotiations are important. Of course, Victor agrees, eyes never leaving Lyra. But I assure you, I am fully briefed on all matters concerning the Eastern Border Territory. Lyra recovers herself, gesturing to the conference table set up in the corner of her office. Fine, let's get started then. As everyone takes their seats, Lyra and Flynn on one side, Victor and his assistant on the other, she tries not to show her disappointment. Derek isn't coming. He sent his beta instead, her ex-fiancé of all people. The meeting proceeds with excruciating formality. Victor presents Derek's proposals for the shared hunting grounds, timber rights, patrol schedules. Lyra counters with her own suggestions. Maps are spread out, boundary lines discussed, agreements marked for final approval. Through it all, Victor watches her with barely disguised amusement, as if privy to a joke she doesn't understand. Every time she asks a direct question about Derek's preferences, he gives evasive answers that tell her nothing about how her maid is doing. So, if Alpha Westwood agrees to these patrol adjustments, we can finalize the agreement next week, Lyra concludes, pushing a folder toward Victor. Victor makes a show of reviewing the documents, then shrugs. I'll present them to him when he's available. And when might that be? Lyra asks, trying to keep her tone neutral. Hard to say. Victor leans back in his chair. He's been rather preoccupied lately. Flynn shoots her a warning glance, sensing the trap. But Lyra can't help herself. Preoccupied with what? Who? Not what? Victor correct, smiling now. Though I'm surprised you don't know. I thought mates shared everything through the bond. Lyra's throat tightens. We have a unique arrangement. Evidently, Victor's eyes gleam with malice. Must be difficult, though, being replaced so quickly. At least in my case, I was honest about wanting a mistress from the start. Victor, Flynn warns, but Lyra raises a hand to stop him. I'm sorry, she says, voice dangerously calm. Your mate, Victor says with exaggerated patience. He's been seeing someone quite seriously from what I gather. Barely leaves her side these days. That's why he couldn't be bothered to attend this meeting. He pauses for a fact. I just thought you knew. The claiming mark on Lyra's neck burns. Her wolf stirs beneath her skin, bristling with territorial rage. I'm well aware of Derek's personal life, she says evenly, though her nails dig into her palms beneath the table. We have an understanding. An understanding? Victor nods, not believing her for a second. How progressive of you, especially considering how you reacted when I suggested a similar arrangement. That was different, Lyra retorts before she can stop herself. Was it? Or did you just have higher standards for me than you do for your current mate? Flynn slams his hand on the table. That's enough. We're here to discuss territory, not personal matters. Of course, Victor agrees smoothly. My apologies, Alpha Wilder. I didn't mean to upset you. After all, if you and Derek agreed to this arrangement, who am I to judge? I'm sure you're perfectly content watching him parade his mistress around while he glances around her sparse office. Bury yourself in work. This meeting is over, Lyra declares, standing abruptly. We'll resume when Alpha Westwood can attend personally. Victor collects his papers unhurriedly, clearly pleased with the reaction he's provoked. As you wish. I'll tell him you were asking after him, though I doubt he'll care much given his current distractions. After Victor and his assistant leave, Flynn turns to Lyra, concern evident in his expression. You okay? I'm fine, she snaps, then immediately regrets her tone. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. That night, alone in her bedroom, Lyra can't stop thinking about what Victor said. Derek with another woman. Derek, too, distracted to attend their meeting. Derek moving on. She paces the length of her room, the claiming mark on her neck pulsing with a dull ache. The bond between them has been quiet for weeks, deliberately, so she suspects like Derek is keeping his emotions carefully locked away from her. Is he with her now? This mystery woman, is he touching her, kissing her? While Lyra paces alone in her room, the images torment her. Derek's hands on another woman's skin, his mouth on another woman's lips. Her wolf bristles beneath her skin, territorial and possessive. Despite all logical arguments that she has no right to feel this way, he's not really hers. Not in the ways that matter. Their mating was a business transaction, nothing more. So why does the thought of him with someone else make her feel like she can't breathe? Lyra stares at the phone. She will not call him. She will not demand explanations. She will not show that she cares. 10 minutes later, she's dialing the number for the Westwood estate, heart pounding as it rings. Westwood residence. A crisp voice answers. This is Alpha Wilder, Lyra says, relieved. Her voice sounds steadier than she feels. I'd like to speak with Derek, please. One moment, Alpha Wilder. There's a pause, then the sound of the line transferring. Lyra, Derek sounds surprised. Is everything all right? I heard the meeting didn't go well. The sound of his voice sends an unexpected wave of warmth through her. The bond hums to life, awakening after weeks of dormancy. The meeting would have gone better if you'd been there, she says, unable to keep the edge from her tone. I'm sorry about that. Something came up. Someone, you mean? A pause. What? Victor mentioned you've been seeing someone. Lyra tries for casual disinterest and fails miserably. That's why you couldn't make it to the meeting. Through the bond, she feels a flicker of something. Surprise. Guilt. It's gone before she can identify it. Victor talks too much, Derek says finally. But yes, I've been spending time with someone. The confirmation hits Lyra like a physical blow. Even though she knew it was true, hearing him say it makes it real in a way that Victor's taunts hadn't. I see, she manages, throat tight. Is it serious? Derek hesitates. It's complicated. There's potential. Potential? Lyra repeats the word bitter on her tongue. For breaking the curse, you mean? Yes, Derek at me. But it's early days yet. Lyra's grip tightens on the receiver. She should be happy for him. This is what they agreed to, what they planned. He needs to break the curse. And their mating bond didn't work. Of course, he'd look elsewhere. Lyra. Derek prompts when she doesn't respond. Are you still there? Yes, she says quickly. I was just thinking if things are getting serious with this woman, maybe we should consider breaking our bond soon. Silence stretches between them. Through their bond, she feels his surprise, followed by something that feels almost like hurt. And this is when Lyra realizes she's hoping he'll say no. It makes no sense. Their bond isn't real. And yet, all right, Derek says slowly. That might not be a bad idea. The timing makes sense. Great, Lyra manages. I should go. She hangs up the phone before he can say anything else. Before her voice betrays her. For a long moment, she just sits on the edge of her bed, staring at nothing. Chapter 13. Derek. Derek adjusts his tie for the 5th time, studying his reflection in the mirror. The man staring back looks perfect. Tailored tuxedo, actist smile. No one would guess that beneath this polished exterior, he's falling apart. 2 hours until midnight. 2 hours until his 30th birthday. 2 hours until the curse becomes permanent. A knock at the door interrupts his dark thoughts. Alpha Westwood, Thompson calls. Your guests are arriving. I'll be right down. He should have broken the bond with Lyra weeks ago. Should have told her the truth and set her free. But every time he thought about it, something held him back. Some foolish, desperate hope that maybe, no, she doesn't love him. Why would she? Their relationship was built on lies from the beginning. Besides, she deserves better than what he's about to become. The door opens without further warning. Isabel strides in, resplendent in a crimson gown that leaves little to the imagination. "Hiding away at your own party?" she asks, raising a perfectly shaped eyebrow. "I needed a moment," Derek says, not bothering to rise. Derek searches desperately for any spark, any connection. There's attraction, certainly. Isabel is objectively beautiful, but nothing deeper, nothing like what you feel through the bond with Lyra. His mind supplies treacherously. "Well, your moment is over." Isabel crosses to him, leaning down to press a deliberate kiss to his cheek. "Happy almost birthday, handsome." Derek allows himself to be pulled to his feet, following her mechanically toward his bedroom. This is what he wanted, isn't it? One last night as the powerful, envied Alpha Westwood. One last attempt to feel something, anything with Isabel that might break this curse. "You seem distracted," Isabel murmurs, her fingers trailing down his chest. "We could be fashionably late, you know." Her meaning is unmistakable as she leans closer. Derek doesn't pull away, doesn't resist. As her lips find his, he kisses her back with deliberate focus, trying to lose himself in the sensation, to feel anything that might indicate she's the one who could break his curse. But all he can think about is Lyra. Lyra's grey eyes, serious and thoughtful. Lyra's rare smile transforms her entire face. Lyra's strength and vulnerability, her dedication to her pack, her stubborn integrity. Will she come tonight? He wonders. Even as Isabel's hands roam across his chest, he told himself he invited Lyra to break their bond, to finally end things properly. But the truth he can barely admit to himself, is that he simply wants to see her again. "You're still not here with me," Isabel says, pulling back with a frown. "What is it?" "Nothing," Derek lies, reaching for her again. "Just business on my mind." "Well, perhaps we should discuss that as your future Luna. Is that what this is about?" Derek asks. "Being Luna? Of course, that's part of it." Isabel doesn't bother hiding her ambition. "And what about me? Do you actually want me, or just the position?" Isabel's laugh is light but sharp. "Oh, come on, Derek. At our level, relationships are alliances, mergers. You know this as well as I do." Something cold settles in Derek's chest. "Do you love me?" he asks. The question slips out before he can stop it. Her perfectly shaped eyebrows rise in surprise. "Love? What does that have to do with anything?" "Just answer the question." Derek's voice drops lower. "Do you love me, Isabel? Not my name, not my pack, not my position. Me." Isabel regards him with a mixture of confusion and impatience. "We're compatible. We're from the right families. And the sex would be fantastic if you'd stop holding back. Isn't that enough?" "It should be." Derek agrees, a bitter laugh escaping him. "It always has been before. Then what's the problem?" Isabel steps closer again, her hand resting on his chest. "Let's formalise things tonight, break your bond with that backwards alpha, and announce our engagement at your party. It would be perfect timing. Perfect timing," Derek thinks with grim humour. If she only knew how perfect and how completely, utterly pointless. Even if he wanted to mate with Isabel, which he increasingly realises he doesn't. There isn't time for a new bond to form before midnight. "I can't," he says simply. "Can't or won't." Isabel's eyes flash with the first hint of genuine emotion he's seen from her. Anger. Both. "It's her, isn't it?" Isabel's voice rises slightly. "You actually have feelings for her, that little nobody with her pathetic excuse for a pack." "Don't talk about her like that," Derek warns, a growl underlying his words. "Why not? She's nothing. Not wealthy, not powerful, not even pretty by conventional standards. Stop, Derek interrupts, his patience evaporating. "You don't know her." "And you do?" Isabel laughs coldly. "You had a business arrangement, a contract marriage." "That's what you told me. It's more complicated than that." "No, it's very simple." Isabel's voice turns cutting. "You're throwing away the chance to ally with my family, my father's influence, my connections. For what? Some girl who doesn't even want you." The words hit too close to home. Derek turns away, moving toward the window that overlooks the grounds. Outside, more guests arrive in expensive cars, dressed in their finest to celebrate the birthday he's come to dread. "This conversation is over," he says quietly. "You should go back to the party." "I'm not going anywhere," Isabel declares, stepping into his path as he moves toward the door. "Not until you explain yourself properly." "Move, Isabel." "No." Derek tries to step around her. but she blocks him again, her wolf-enhanced reflexes easily matching his increasingly human movements. "What is wrong with you lately?" she demands, frustration evident in her tone. "You've been different, distracted, weaker somehow." The word weaker lands like a physical blow. Derek stiffens, his last threat of patience snapping. "Get out of my way!" he growls, the command lacking the alpha power it once carried. "Make me!" Isabel challenges, hands on her hips. In that moment, looking at her beautiful, contemptuous face, Derek realizes the futility of it all. The curse will take hold at midnight, turning him fully human. His pack will sense his weakness and someone will challenge him. Everything he's built, everything he's inherited will be lost. And for what? For an empire built on appearances. For a life where no one, not one single person, actually cares about him for anything other than his power. "I'm leaving," he says quietly. "Enjoy the party." He moves to push past her again, but Isabel's patience has run out. She shoves him, not hard by wolf standards, but Derek's barely a wolf anymore. He stumbles backward, hand striking the corner of his heavy oak desk. Pain lances up his arm. Sharp and immediate, he gasps, cradling the wrist to his chest as it begins to swell. "What, the eye barely touched you?" Isabel's eyes widen in a shock. "What's going on with you, Derek?" "Nothing," he grits out, backing toward the door. "I'm fine." "You're not fine," she insists, stepping closer. "Let me see." "Leave." The force of Derek's rejection stuns them both. Isabel freezes, hurt flickering across her face before it hardens into anger. "Fine," she says coldly. "Have it your way, but don't expect me to be waiting when you come to your senses." She stalks out, yanking the study door open. From the corner of his eye, Derek catches movement. Several curious onlookers in the corridor, no doubt drawn by raised voices. Perfect. Just what he needs. Gossip swirling through his birthday party about his fight with Isabel and his inexplicable injury. His wrist throbs, already swollen and bruised in a way no wolf injury should be. Soon, it won't matter. In a few hours, he'll be fully human, and pain like this will become his reality. He steps into the hall. Ahead, the grand staircase curves down toward the main foyer. Music and laughter rise from below, hundreds of voices celebrating a milestone he dreads. Almost without thinking, he veers toward the balcony overlooking the ballroom. From here, he sees everything: the extravagant decorations, gourmet stations, champagne fountains, the orchestra tucked into one corner, every detail meticulously curated to display his wealth and power. The room is packed: alphas, business titans, political elites, celebrities. Everyone who matters in their world has come to honor Derek Westwood on his 30th birthday, and not one of them truly knows him. The truth crashes into him with brutal clarity. He spent millions, invited hundreds, and yet there isn't a single person down there who sees the man behind the mask. All this time he's had everything: status, admiration, unimaginable wealth, and yet nothing of substance, nothing real. He glances at his watch, 1 hour and 20 minutes until midnight. With one last look at the glittering illusion, Derek turns from the light, clutching his wrist to his chest, and slips into the shadows, leaving behind everything he's ever known. Chapter 14. Lyra. Lyra stands at the edge of the crowded ballroom, a glass of champagne untouched in her hand. She scans the sea of unfamiliar faces for the one person she came to see. "He's not here," a voice says behind her. Lyra turns to find Ryder watching her with an unreadable expression. "What do you mean he's not here?" she asks. "It's his birthday party." "No one's seen him," Ryder explains, his voice low. "Rumour says he and his girlfriend had some kind of argument. Now he's disappeared." Alarm prickles along Lyra's spine. Derek had a fight with his girlfriend, but he's about to be 30 soon, and when he does, his curse will be permanent. And no one went after him. Lyra can't keep the accusation from her voice. "It's not like we can force him to stay at his own party," Ryder says, expression betraying his worry. "Besides, he's been acting strange for months, because he's losing his powers," Lyra thinks, but doesn't say. "What time is it?" she asks suddenly. Ryder checks his watch. "Just after 11. Why?" Lyra's heart races. Derek's birthday is at midnight, less than an hour until the curse becomes permanent. "I need to find him," she says, already moving toward the exit. "Lyra, wait." But Lyra doesn't have time to hear him out. She needs to find Derek. She thought he'd be fine, having found someone new to break his curse, but closing her eyes, she focuses on the bond between them. For weeks, it's been muted, distant, both of them deliberately keeping their emotions shielded. But now, she opens herself completely, sending her awareness along that invisible thread that connects them. Derek, she thinks, pouring all her worry and determination into the silent call. Where are you? For a long moment, nothing happens. Then, like a candle flickering to life, she feels him. Pain, resignation, and beneath it all, a desperate loneliness that makes her chest ache. Hold on, she sends through their connection. I'm coming. Without another word, Lyra runs from the mansion, ignoring the curious glances of the partygoers. The cool night air hits her face as she descends the grand steps, her decision already made. She doesn't head for her car. Instead, she veers toward the dense forest that borders the Westwood estate, kicking off her heels as she runs. The formal gown will be ruined, but that's the least of her concerns. Once beneath the cover of trees, Lyra gives in to the transformation that's been itching under her skin. Her bones shift, muscles contract and expand, fur rippling across her body as she drops to all fours. The change is quick, efficient, the mark of a powerful alpha. Where a woman in a blue gown stood moments before, a sleek grey wolf now stands, shaking out her coat as the remnants of her dress fall away. Her senses sharpen instantly, the night forest opening up to her in ways no human could comprehend. And there it is, Derek's scent, distinctive and familiar, carried on the night breeze. He passed this way not long ago. The trace of him still fresh on the forest floor, Lyra sets off at a run, her powerful legs eating up the distance. As a wolf, she can cut directly through the forest, taking routes no car could follow. The bond between them pulls her forward like a compass pointing north, growing stronger with each mile. She runs faster than she ever has, desperation lending her speed. Tree trunks blur past, moonlight dappling through branches to light her way. The forest gives way to steeper terrain as she climbs into the foothills, but she doesn't slow. Hold on, Derek, she sends through their bond. I'm coming. Time loses meaning as she runs. Focused solely on following his trail, the scent grows stronger, fresher. She's gaining on him. Finally, through a break in the trees, she spots lights, a modern structure perched on the edge of a cliff. The silver gate stands open, Derek's car parked haphazardly in the circular drive. Lyra slows, approaching the cabin cautiously. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she can see a figure silhouetted against the fireplace. Derek, shoulders slumped in defeat. She shifts back to human form at the edge of the forest, the transformation leaving her naked and shivering in the cool mountain air. For a moment, she considers her options, then strides forward without hesitation. Some things matter more than dignity. The front door is locked. Lyra knocks, the sound echoing in the still night. When no one answers, she steps back, determination hardening her features. Without a second thought, she slams her foot against the door beside the lock. The wood splinters with a satisfying crack. One more powerful kick and the door flies open, banging against the interior wall. The cabin is warm, filled with the scent of expensive whiskey and the crackling of a dying fire. Derek sits on the floor, his back against a leather sofa, a crystal tumbler dangling from his fingers. His tuxedo jacket is discarded, his tie loosened, his hair dishevelled. "You're too late," he says without turning, clearly sensing her presence, even without looking. It's done. Lyra's eyes dart to the ornate clock on the mantel. 7 minutes past midnight. Her heart sinks as the realization crashes over her. She's too late. The curse has taken hold. Chapter 15. Lyra. Grabbing a coat by the door to cover herself, Lyra moves closer, her pulse quickening as she takes in his slumped form. "Derek," she begins, heart in her throat. "Don't." His voice is flat, empty. "Just don't." When he finally turns to face her, Lyra's breath catches. The vibrant blue of his eyes seems dimmer somehow, the natural predatory grace that always defined him muted. "You should go," he continues, returning his gaze to the fire. "There's nothing for you here anymore." His left wrist is still swollen and bruised, cradled protectively against his chest. That's not true. Lyra kneels beside him, close enough to see the strain in his features, the darkness under his eyes. "Derek, look at me," he does reluctantly, and the raw pain in his expression makes her heart ache. "Are you human?" she asks softly. Derek laughs bitterly, lifting his injured wrist. "What gave it away?" The defeat in his voice cuts through her. "It's going to be okay," she says, reaching for his hand. "I'll help you." Derek pulls back sharply. "By this time tomorrow, someone will have challenged for my territory. I'll lose. How could I not? I can't even shift anymore." He gestures vaguely around them. "My pack, my position, everything I've built and inherited, gone. Then we'll start over," Lyra says firmly. "Together." Derek's eyes widen in momentary surprise before narrowing again. There is no we, Lyra. Not anymore. What are you talking about? I'm releasing you from our bond, he says. The agreement is void. You're free to go back to your pack. Find a proper mate. Anger flares in Lyra's chest. That's not your decision to make. Yes, it is. Derek sets down his glass with a sharp click. Our arrangement was business, remember? Well, I can no longer uphold my end. I can't protect your pack. That's not why I'm here, Lyra insists. Isn't it? Derek challenges. You chose me for my resources. Now I couldn't even live amongst your people. I don't care, Derek. Please just let me help. I know our world, Lyra. His voice softens. I know what happens to the weak, and I won't drag you down with me. Lyra studies him for a long moment, understanding washing over her. This isn't just about his pride. He's trying to protect her, to spare her from what he perceives as a burden. Without warning, she leans forward and presses her lips to his. Derek freezes beneath her touch, clearly caught off guard. For one breathless moment, neither of them moves. Then, as if he can't help himself, he responds, his good hand coming up to cradle her face with surprising gentleness. The connection between them flares, their bond dormant for weeks, suddenly humming with renewed vigour. Lyra pours everything she feels into the kiss, trying to convey what words have failed to express. When they finally break apart, Derek's eyes remain closed, his breathing uneven. What are you doing? He asks, voice rough. I choose you, Lyra says simply. Human or wolf, powerful or not. Derek's eyes snap open, disbelief wearing with hope in his gaze. Don't be ridiculous. No, you are being ridiculous, she counters. I've been miserable without you, Derek. I tried to tell myself it was just the bond, just biology, but it's more than that. It always has been. No, it's not. Derek shakes his head firmly. This is just the bond talking. You'll find a better mate. I don't want a better mate, Lyra interrupts. I want you. Derek looks away, something torn flashing across his features. You don't mean that, he murmurs. Yes, I do. She takes a deep breath, reaches out with her fingers. I love you, Derek. Not your money, not your power. You. Derek stares at her, clearly struggling to process her words. Through their bond, she feels his tumultuous emotions. Hope, fear, longing, and beneath it all, a crushing sense of unworthiness. It doesn't matter, he says finally, the words sounding forced. I don't deserve you, Lyra. I never did. That's not a no, Lyra observes, holding on to the fact. How do you feel? Do you love me? Derek! He looks away, unable to meet her eyes. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Lyra's hand finds his chin, gently turning his face back toward her. Tell me you don't love me. Tell me you don't want this. If you can do that, I'll walk away right now and never look back. Derek opens his mouth, then closes it again, conflict evident in his expression. I thought so, Lyra whispers. Now shut up and kiss me. For a moment, she thinks he might refuse. Then something breaks in his expression, and he surges forward, capturing her lips with his own. This kiss is different, desperate, hungry, as if he's trying to memorize the feel of her before she disappears. When they break apart, both breathless, Derek rests his forehead against hers. Of course I love you, he admits, voice cracking with emotion, which is precisely why I have to let you go. You deserved better when I had everything to offer you, and you definitely deserve better now that I have nothing to give. I will not trap you in a useless bond with a deadbeat. Lyra silences him with another kiss, trying to pour all her love, all her certainty into their connection. The bond between them pulses, warming and strengthening with each passing second. Suddenly, Derek gasps, pulling back sharply. What? Lyra asks, alarmed. What's wrong? He's not looking at her, but at his injured wrist. Before her eyes, the swelling seems to be receding, the bruising fading from angry purple to yellow to nothing at all. Derek, she prompts, heart racing. It's healing, he whispers, flexing his fingers experimentally. I don't understand. It was supposed to be too late. What if? Lyra suggests slowly, thinking it through. It's not that it wasn't doable after you turned 30, just that you'd be human by the time you were 30, so it was better to do it before. Derek doesn't let her finish. He captures her lips in a kiss so intense it steals her breath, his arms wrapping around her with newfound strength. You're insane, he murmurs against her mouth, completely insane for choosing me despite everything. I know, Lyra agrees, smiling against his lips, but someone had to love you enough to break that stupid curse. Derek laughs, the sound unburdened and genuine in a way she's never heard from him before. His forehead rests against hers, the bond between them humming with a contentment she didn't know was possible. Happy birthday, Derek, Lyra whispers, nestling closer as the clock ticks well past midnight into a new day. Best one yet, he replies, his arms secure around her. Outside, the moon shines bright over the mountains, bathing the world in silver light. Inside, two wolves who found each other against all odds rest in each other's arms, their futures no longer bound by curses or contracts, but by the most ancient and powerful magic of all, love, freely given and freely returned. Thank you for watching. Your support means the world.